Hi, my name is Kristina Fernandez, and I decided to do Grimm fairy tales. Grimm fairy tales were written by the Grimm brothers. Even though the books are considered fairy and fantasy tales, they contain a lot of violence, cruelty. A lot of the stories are convoluted and twisted, but in the end, they all end up having they all end up living happily ever after and having a good ending. So I chose 5 books, some of which were written by the Grimm brothers themselves and some which were retold by different authors. I chose Rumpelstiltskin, Rapunzel, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The underlying theme that connects all the books is that well, 4 of them were made into Disney movies and are Disney princesses, and the women in the tales were either mistreated, neglected, torn apart from their family, but they end up having a happy ending. So the first book I chose was Rapunzel. Rapunzel was written by originally by the Grimm fairy tales, Grimm brothers, but retold by Barbara Rogoski. And I knew a little about Rapunzel at first. I didn't really know her story. I knew that she was like locked away in a tower, but Rapunzel was snatched by an evil witch from her parents and placed in a really, really high tower in Shinfen society. And in the end, Rapunzel's true love comes and rescues her, and she lives happily ever after. Um, I would think that this book will not be intended for an audience younger than 7, just because of the complexity of the book and the tone and the way that the book was written. It was very detailed. The child might get lost upon reading the book. I thought the illustrations were good, and I enjoyed the book, but again, I don't think it would be intended for a child younger than 7. The next book I did was Rumpelstiltskin. This one was also retold by Paul Galdone. This book I would say would be intended for children maybe 4 and up. It's less complex, and it was perfect because it wasn't too long and it wasn't too short. It wasn't boring. Again, like Rapunzel, I knew who Rumpelstiltskin was. I didn't really know what the story was about. If any of you guys have seen this show Once Upon a Time on ABC7, it's my favorite TV show. The Rumpelstiltskin in the show is different from the Rumpelstiltskin here in the story. And the story is about a girl who is locked up in the king's castle and is forced to thread yarn into gold. And if she doesn't, then her father dies. And so she does this 3 times, and on the 3rd time, Rapunzel ends up showing up again, and the queen promises her firstborn child, if Rapunzel can thread the yarn into gold, he does. And so when the queen has her child, Rapunzel comes to take it, but he gives the queen 3 days to figure his name out to keep it, and she ends up keeping her baby and again living happily ever after. Again, this book was perfect because it wasn't too long, it wasn't too short, it wasn't dry, it was really interesting. The other 3 books that I read, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White, I took from the book, directly from the book, The Brothers Grimm. One thing I noticed about the 3 books, is that they were really dull, they were really boring, kind of dry. They were all sad as well. I think the sadness overrided the happy fairy tale endings in the end. I did Cinderella, and Cinderella, as many of you guys know, is about a girl whose dad marries an evil stepmom, and she's forced to live with her evil stepsisters, and they're mean to her. In the end, Cinderella ends up finding her true love and ends up living happily ever after. The book, again, I said, was kind of dry. The illustrations were also a little weird. They would transition from like watercolor painting to an old school type of painting to a portrait of a girl. I got a little lost with the illustrations, but I think that the book would be intended for children maybe 7 or up, just because again the complexity was just a little weird in the Brothers Grimm books. Now I can understand why they were retold to make the books a little more kiddish and a little more fairy tale-ish, because the Brothers Grimm, I think the stories lacked a lot of like flavor in the stories. The next book I did was Sleeping Beauty. Again, many of you guys probably already know the story of Sleeping Beauty. It's about a girl named Aurora who was born to a king and queen, and an evil witch cursed Aurora to die on her 16th birthday upon touching a spindle. So another fairy counter curse, the evil fairy's curse, and she would awaken upon true love's first kiss. She did awaken. She did awaken, and she ended up living happily ever after. The story, again, like Cinderella, was a little dull, a little boring, and so the last one that I did was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This is my favorite Disney story. I was a little disappointed in the way that the brothers depicted the Snow White, because other books I have read in the movie, they include a lot of detail, a lot more interesting. There's been different versions of the Snow White movies, um, but the book, I didn't really care for it the way that the Brothers Grimm wrote it. It lacked a lot of detail. It was very short. The story, again, you guys probably already know, like Snow White, like the rest of the princess stories, the evil queen was jealous of Snow White, and so she tried to kill her with a poison apple. She ended up living upon first love's true kiss, just like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. I definitely liked the stories that were retold by different authors because they were more detailed, the illustrations were better, the stories in the Brothers Grimm, not my favorite. And so I hope you guys like my review. Thank you.